Good morning. Today, we will learn about writing the quadratic equation using the given roots. In the previous lessons, we have been studying how to solve quadratic equations or how to find the roots or solutions of quadratic equations using different methods like extracting square roots, factoring, completing the square, and using the quadratic formula. This time, we will have it the other way around. The roots are given, and we are to find the quadratic equation. Let's have an example. If the roots of a quadratic equation are 5 and 12, what is the quadratic equation? Now, there are two methods. For method 1, we simply have the formula x squared minus the sum of roots x plus product of roots is equal to 0. So since the roots of the equation are 5 and 12, 5 plus 12 is equal to 17. The product of the roots is 5 times 12 is equal to 60. So using the given formula, we have x squared minus 17x plus the product of the roots, which is 60, is equal to 0. Therefore, if the roots are 5 and 12, then the quadratic equation is x squared minus 17x plus 60 is equal to 0. Let's have method 2. Method 2 is simply the reverse of factoring. So if the roots are 5 and 12, so we say that x sub 1 is 5 and x sub 2 is 12. Which means that x minus 5 is equal to 0 and x minus 12 is equal to 0. X, or quantity x minus 5 times quantity x minus 12 is equal to 0. Using FOIL method, we multiply the two binomials. So x times x, x squared. X times negative 12, negative 12x. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 12, positive 60, is equal to 0. Combining like terms, we have x squared minus 17x plus 60 is equal to 0. So as you can see, we came up with the same answer. So whatever method you use, you will come up with the same answer. So that is how we find or determine the quadratic equation when the roots are given. Let's have another example. Write a quadratic equation whose roots are negative 3 and 5. For method 1, we have x squared minus sum of roots x plus product of roots is equal to 0. So for the sum of the roots, we have negative 3 plus 5. And that is equal to positive 2. For the product of the roots, we have negative 3 times 5 is equal to negative 15. So we substitute this in the given formula. X squared minus the sum of the roots, which is 2x plus the product of the roots, which is negative 15, is equal to 0. Simplify. X squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. So the quadratic equation is x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. Now let's have method number 2, or the reverse of factoring. Since the roots are negative 3 and 5, we say that x sub 1 is negative 3, x sub 2 is positive 5. Therefore, x plus 3 is equal to 0, and x minus 5 is equal to 0. Quantity x plus 3 times quantity x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now find the product using FOIL method. X times x, x squared. X times negative 5, negative 5x. 3 times x, that is 3x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, is equal to 0. So let us combine like terms. Negative 5x and 3x when combined is equal to negative 2x. So for our final answer, we have x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. So we came up with the same answer as that of method 1. Another example. Write a quadratic equation whose roots are 2/3 and 3/4. So for method 1, we have x squared minus sum of roots x plus product of roots is equal to 0. So let us first find the sum of the given roots. We have 2/3 plus 3/4. Let us use the butterfly approach. 2 times 4 is equal to 8. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. For the denominator, we have 3 times 4, that is equal to 12. Therefore, the sum of the roots is 8 plus 9, 17 over 12. Now let us solve for the product of the roots. We have 2/3 times 3/4. Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. 2 times 3, 6. 3 times 4, 12. So the product of the roots is 6 over 12. Let us now substitute these values to the formula. So we have x squared minus the sum of the roots, which is 17 over 12. X plus the product of the roots, which is 6 over 12, is equal to 0. Now we need to get rid of the denominators. In order to do that, we multiply the entire equation by the LCD, which is 12. 12 times x squared is 12x squared. 12 times negative 17 over 12 is equal to negative 17. Bring down x. 12 times 6 over 12 is equal to positive 6 is equal to 12 times 0 is equal to 0. So the quadratic equation is 12x squared minus 17x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now let us try using the other method, reverse of factoring. First we have x is equal to 2/3 and x is equal to 3/4, which means that x minus 2/3 is equal to 0. X minus 3/4 is equal to 0. Quantity x minus 2/3 times quantity x minus 3/4 is equal to 0. Find the product using factoring, using FOIL method rather. X times x is equal to x squared. X times negative 3/4 is negative 3/4 x. Negative 2/3 times x is negative 2/3 x. Negative 2/3 times negative 3/4 is positive 6/12. Negative 3/4 x and negative 2/3 x are like terms which can be combined. Okay, let's use the butterfly approach. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. For the denominator, 4 times 3 is equal to 12. Bring down x. So we have x squared, and then bring down also 6/12 is equal to 0. So here we now have x squared, negative 9 minus 8 is negative 17/12. X plus 6/12 is equal to 0. Now to get rid of the denominator 12, multiply the entire equation by 12. So we have 12 times x squared. We write the answer here. We have 12x squared. 12 times negative 17/12x is equal to negative 17x. 12 times 6/12 is positive 6. 12 times 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, the quadratic equation is 12x squared minus 17x plus 6. Let's have another one. Write a quadratic equation whose roots are square root of 3 and negative square root of 3. Let us first find the sum of the roots. So we have square root of 3 plus negative square root of 3, that is equal to 0. So the sum of the roots is 0. Now let us solve for the product of the roots. To find the product, we have square root of 3 times the negative square root of 3. Square root of 3 times negative square root of 3, their product is negative square root of 9. And that will give us negative. The square root of 9 is 3. So their product is 3. Now let us substitute these values in the given formula. So we have x squared minus the sum of the roots is 0, x plus the product of the roots, which is negative 3. Simplify. X squared. So we will no longer write 0x because that is equal to 0. Plus negative 3, that will give us negative 3 is equal to 0. So the quadratic equation is x squared minus 3 is equal to 0. Let's have the other method, or the reverse of factoring. X is equal to square root of 3. X is equal to negative square root of 3. X minus square root of 3 is equal to 0. X plus square root of 3 is equal to 0. So quantity x minus square root of 3 times quantity x plus square root of 3 is equal to 0. Using FOIL method, we have x times x, x squared. X times square root of 3 is positive square root of 3 x. Negative square root of 3 times x is negative square root of 3 x. Negative square root of 3 times square root of 3 is negative square root of 9 is equal to 0. Let us simplify. X squared is equal to, so the square root of 3x, the square root of 3x and the negative square root of 3x when combined, that will give us 0. So this will be cancelled out, and let us bring down negative square root of 9. The negative square root of 9 is equal to negative 3 is equal to 0. So same quadratic equation, x squared minus 3 is equal to 0. Let's have another example. Write a quadratic equation whose roots are 2 minus 5 square root of 2 and 2 plus 5 square root of 2. Since we have learned that whatever method we use, we will come up with the same answer, for this problem, I choose to use method number 1, or the formula x squared minus sum of roots x plus product of roots is equal to 0. First, let us find the sum of the given roots. So we have 2 minus 5 square root of 2 plus 2 plus 5 square root of 2. 2 minus 5 square root of 2 plus 2 plus 5 square root of 2. Let us combine like terms. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Negative 5 square root of 2 and positive 5 square root of 2 when added will give us 0. Therefore, the sum of the roots is simply equal to 4. Let us now have the product of the roots. So we have 2 minus 5 square root of 2 times 2 plus 5 square root of 2. Using FOIL method, we have 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 square root of 2 is 10 square root of 2. Negative 5 square root of 2 times 2 is negative 10 square root of 2. Negative 5 square root of 2 times positive 5 square root of 2 is negative 25 square root of 4. Combining like terms, 10 square root of 2 and negative 10 square root of 2, that will give us 0. So the middle term will be cancelled. 4, we now have 4 minus 25 times the square root of 4, which is 2. So we have 4 minus 50, and that is equal to negative 46. So the product of the roots is negative 46. Let us now substitute the sum and the product in the given formula. So we have x squared minus the sum of the roots, which is 4x, plus the product of the roots, which is negative 46, is equal to 0. Simplify, we have x squared minus 4x minus 46 is equal to 0. So the quadratic equation is x squared minus 4x minus 46 is equal to 0. So that is how we determine the quadratic equation when roots are given. Thank you very much.